Brother
So,
in Christ.
welcome one and all back to the Society of Main Characters. Keegan, what are we going to be doing tonight?
Today we're going to be checking out Daredevil Born Again, episodes
Nice.
1 and 2, which is now streaming on Disney+.
That's right. Deep in the plus there.
Yeah, it's a streaming service we've been using a lot, but I think so far, with what we've seen from episodes 1 and 2, should be off to a much better start than the last time we viewed a series here.
Yeah, I can say with just the first two episodes, I don't feel like I'm going to regret my existence from having to suffer through this. So I think this might actually be, worth it.
Yeah, so far I don't think it's going to turn out that everybody is an alien that doesn't get explained.
Yeah, no, I'm calling it right now, dude. Everyone's an alien. It doesn't get explained. That's the end of Daredevil.
For anybody confused, if you'd like to be in on these jokes, you can check out our total review of Goosebumps Season 2. That is over on Cool's Paranormal Studios channel. Very interesting series that, as you may be able to tell, we had a couple issues with. But we are not worried about that this week. We are now starting our new series, Daredevil Born Again, as Keegan said. And we are doing it here on the Society of Main Characters. And as always, we have quite a crew of main characters with us. I guess we can just go around and introduce everybody. Keegan, who do we have with us tonight besides me and you, of course?
Well, up top we got Nick, who you guys should know for recommending our first ever book for our book club. We got Grayson down below, well-renowned movie reviewer and Pat Garrett expert, or at least we made him that. And then also we got Nolan, or Sky Rizzy, or Spaceman. Today he's just guest user. Sky Rizzy is what we're going to call him, but he's here.
It wasn't happening. So
can we edit just Sky Rizzy over guest user for the recording of this?
Yeah, we'll just put the actual.
We'll fix it in post.
The guest user.
Yeah, we'll just put the actual
post.
Sky Rizzy logo.
the Sky Rizzy. Even better.
He is Sky Rizzy, attorney at law.
Sky Rizzy, attorney at law. Sky Rizzy, wizard at law.
Wizard at law. Okay.
Yeah, wizard at law. Yeah. Hell yeah.
So yes, we are on one of our favorite subjects. I think we're all pretty big Marvel fans, so we all had a lot of anticipation for this series. We'll get into all the details, what we liked, didn't like, but I think it's safe to say, I think it's off to a decent start. What do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we talk about this new series, who here watched the Netflix series?
I think we all did. Did anybody not?
I know
watch
I did. I watched all of it. Yeah, I thought it was quite fantastic.
Yeah, I think it would be
I
hard
did,
to watch this. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's required watching, but you're going to get a lot more out of this if you've seen the
It's
previous
gonna be a lot
Netflix.
more.
Yeah.
Especially
a lot
with
more
episode
context.
1. Yeah.
So for those who don't
A lot more
know,
context.
Daredevil's one of those shows that had kind of some weird stuff going on with it, where the series that came out on Netflix technically wasn't the MCU at the time. It was like an alternate MCU. I guess it's like almost like a multiverse thing, but they never said one way or another. But now that all the full rights are with Marvel and they're doing their own stuff, they are basically making the previous Daredevil series canon. So what we saw on Netflix did still happen. Same cast of characters, same storylines going. This is very much, it's Daredevil Born Again season 1, but it's basically Daredevil season 4. Wouldn't you guys say, like, it feels exactly, it's the same stuff.
And it wasn't always supposed to be this way either.
Right. I heard that for a while they were going to kind of break off and do their own thing, right? And so many people said that was stupid, which it would have been.
Yeah, they
It was
got
supposed to be a reboot.
Yeah, they got pretty far into like making it a reboot, and they actually came back and redid the pilot, which is episode 1, because Foggy and Karen weren't going to be in it at all. And
Which is
sick.
ridiculous.
Yeah, and so that's why I have a little bit of gripes with the CGI not looking perfect, but I give them a pass because I believe that a lot of that is reshoots, so they didn't have as much time. So I'm fine with it,
So even with, I do agree, the CGI was a little, but that fight was still really badass.
Yeah, no, I love
of like what was
aspects of the
supposed to be
fight.
happening,
Yeah.
and I love that Bullseye is just like murking people the whole way as he goes, just like, I know I'm in this fight, but I gotta kill.
Oh no, it was just no F's given, reckless abandon. Like, I'm just gonna throw this knife. If it hits somebody,
Which of course it did.
I mean,
Which I was like, which of course it's going to, but yeah, it's just like, I'm not even aiming at him. I'm just trying to bounce things off, and people are getting caught in the crossfire. It's like hilarious. It's just
I think, I mean, I know we saw Bullseye for a bit of season, what, it was 3, I think, right? The previous Daredevil season?
where they were like kind of building his character up.
Right, and he was
Right.
wearing like, and he was like a fake Daredevil because he wore like a suit that looked like, and like besmirch his name.
yes.
I
That
think
was
this little
bad.
bit that we saw of him in this is the most comic book type Bullseye I think we've seen yet out of the show.
Yes, because originally his outfit,
Just the way he acted, at least. Not outfit wise. I heard he's going to get a costume later on.
well, even then, like the costume that you see at first that he's like rocking
Mhm.
isn't like a true like costume so much as like it looks like he honestly kind of looks like Kick-Ass to me.
Yeah,
Just like a
just kind of like a
diving suit.
random black suit kind of thing.
Right, like black, like I don't know, it's not neoprene, but it's just basically that. But realistically, like Bullseye in the comics, that's like what he wore. It just was literally like a black skin tight suit with like a belt and the little white bullseye on his
The
forehead.
target,
And,
yeah.
yeah, and
You're
like
telling
that
me
was
you're telling me
about it.
he didn't have the target and bullseye engraved into his skin like that, like the
Oh,
movie
like
had?
Colin
Yeah,
Farrell.
sorry, Ben
Yeah.
Affleck.
best shorts ever made.
Not even close.
That was the Penguin.
That was the
I
penguin
will
doing.
say I didn't mind the CGI issues with this at the beginning because it felt more reminiscent of the Netflix series itself.
Yeah, it was fine. Like, yeah.
Netflix series didn't have the best
Well, I was gonna say,
CGI.
they didn't, right? But the thing is like, it was only because it was like during like the fight scenes, right? Like where, so the minor little gripe here, like little kind of like jankiness that I saw is in the Netflix versions, the hallway one take fight scenes were like what made that show like amazing sometimes.
And I felt like they kind of tried to do that with the stairwell in this one.
I was
They
gonna say,
tried to do that, I think, with this whole the entirety of the
Yeah.
fight, but they didn't quite nail it because of the jankiness of the CGI sometimes. Like it kind of, you could tell it's like that's what they were going for, which is cool, and I'm glad they're trying to like bring that back because like
It's a cool
that-
feel. It's a good vibe.
it is like one of the first like hallway fights where he's just running through dudes. Like even on the Netflix one, you're like, damn, like this is awesome. And then like the fact that it's one of those ones that like because like Daredevil's relatively a normal dude, right? So it's like one of those ones that the fact that he's like breathing hard, he like takes a break for a second. It's like, oh, I gotta go through more.
You're like,
of these
I get
assholes.
this,
Like,
yeah.
you're like, dude, I that's exactly how I'm pretty sure 99% of people would feel. Like,
Well, even
Okay, I'm
like
tired.
Bullseye throughout the fight, you can see his aim getting worse and worse because he's getting tired.
yes,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
getting his ass whooped, and he's catching shots too, like each as it kind of goes on or whatever. But yeah, that's so that was like one of my like few gripes about these first couple episodes is just that you can definitely see a little bit of the jankiness of the CGI. But like I guess the complaint comes from the fact that like when they did the Netflix ones, it wasn't CGI for like the
Right.
the
It was
first-
actually like
it was-
stunt people, and yeah.
right. It was that stunt people and doing all that kind of stuff, and this was like a good mix of that.
I kind of
but-
wonder if that's because of the reshoots and that this was kind of added later. I wonder if maybe they didn't have the time and resources to do the actual fight. Like we'll see, I think, as we move forward, how
Right.
much do they lean on CGI and how much do they actually do. But I'm gonna say, kind of like with video games, if your story's really good and I care about what's going on and the characters, I'm gonna give you more grace on graphics than I
Right, and-
would if it was just boring.
and that's exactly it, right? Like you just it's one of those ones that like when things are good, it's harder to nitpick stuff.
Yeah.
Like that. Like you're like, okay, like this was a great movie, but like am I really gonna be upset that the CGI wasn't perfect? Like it's you're like, I'll give it a little bit of a pass because that was such a good movie for whatever it is. Like, because I mean, even the movies that we do love, like some of the older ones or whatever, like some of the CGI is a little janky in some spots, right? Like, if you don't believe me,
Yeah,
go back
I mean,
to
like
the first Matrix.
yeah, I mean, well, like the first Matrix, the cinematic masterpiece that is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It was a good story in the day.
I mean, a perfect example. I don't know if you guys agree with this. I don't think Avatar is a very good movie.
Like
It's pretty
Blue
weak,
Avatar?
but
Or-
it looks.
You
amazing.
talking about the M Night
You put
Shyamalan
Wallace in
one?
space?
No, I'm
No,
talking
no.
about James
I never.
Cameron.
No, he's talking about James
Oh.
Cameron's Fern Gully.
Yeah. They're not great movies, but they
Oh yeah, no.
they look fantastic, and that's kind of
absolutely.
what people go for, is to see the spectacle of the big world on screen and stuff. Even the sequel, it wasn't very good,
No.
but it looked
It was
fantastic.
just.
I did think it was
I
better,
own them on
though.
4K for that exact reason. I was like, these are just pretty. I like
Yeah,
you can
that's
sit here
literally
and
the
have-
only reason to watch them.
you know,
It's
look really nice on a
story-wise,
projector.
they're very basic and redone plots.
Easily.
Fern Gully, as Nolan just said,
Like I
Fern
said,
Gully.
James Cameron's Fern
Dances
Gully.
with Wolves. Yeah.
To be fair,
Yeah.
Fern Gully would make a rockin' live-action movie.
Yeah,
Hey,
but then you lose the
don't-
magic
don't
of
give
Robin
him
Williams
ideas.
as the
only-
best
yeah.
Batman.
No, I
was
would
gonna
even
say the
I
only
would
the only
I would
problem
do a
the only problem that
CGI
would be
bat and
And
just
then reuse.
pour it over. Yeah,
Ooh,
I think they should have done that with Genie.
maybe.
If you do that, they should have done that with Tim Curry's what's his name in that movie too. But
that's also
Sorry.
true. Dang,
My
we're down a bunch of good actors, ladies and gentlemen. That's tough.
I mean, Tim
Thinking about
Curry's
it
still
now, like-
alive.
Huh?
I mean, he had like a huge stroke though. Like
But I was like, but he's not. He's not in working condition. Like,
He can do
No, yeah.
voiceover stuff. He just can't do moving around acting.
like actual live action stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
He can do
'cause-
voice acting. That's about it now, unfortunately.
Speaking of like
Imagine
dubbing, over-
I was gonna say, imagine a Rocky Horror Picture remake where it's just Tim Curry's voice. It's all
Just
just
Tim, imagine
it's the mix,
Rocky
it's a
Horror
mix of the
Picture Show
original
remake
audio,
where everybody's live action
original
except
audio, and,
Frank.
like, new audio.
Frank is
and-
animated, and everybody else.
Yep, everyone else is everyone else is live action, and the one character is animated.
just the one
Yeah,
guy.
pay
huh?
good money to see a horrible ADR over the Frankfurter disc replacement where it's like a second behind with Tim Curry's voice.
With Tim Curry's
Jesus.
voice.
Okay, so speaking of losing people, and of course this is spoilers, so if you haven't seen the show, don't watch this yet unless you want things given away. We gotta address.
alerts on the front of the things. Sorry, like.
I mean, if you're watching this, you should probably this is your spoiler warning.
This is why we did it a week after, so you guys could watch.
There's been a full
fair.
week to
That
watch
is,
these.
that, yes,
so-
it has been a week now. They come out on.
So
Yeah, sorry.
it's out. The new episode's been out for about 45 minutes now. It comes out right before we film this, so it's today.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
we're filming this on Tuesday on the day it releases.
On the
This
day
will
it
come
releases.
out
Okay,
probably Wednesday, Thursday, Friday-ish. So,
Even better.
so right off the top, basically, Foggy is shot, dead, gone.
Yep.
What'd you guys think of that as an opening?
Hated it.
Fantastic.
My heart out and stomped on it.
Yeah, I hated it, but only because of the fact that the actor had been going around and be like, "Yo, I love this character. I'm so happy to be back." And it's like, dude, you were back for less than 5 minutes.
So, to be
Right.
fair, he is already confirmed. Him and Deborah Wool, who plays
Deborah
Karen.
Wall, plays.
are going to be in season 2.
So I think
right.
Yeah, because there's
To
a
that
storyline
point-
with a fake death with him, so they can
I was
bring him
just about
back.
to say that.
I'd be
did,
okay,
like,
I'd
put
be
their
okay
office
with that,
classic
but I feel like it's been a long time already.
I don't.
Well,
I was gonna say I don't know the fake death bit. He looked pretty real to me. He looked like he
Yeah.
got shot for real. You know.
The big
Yeah, I
reason
mean-
he got shot was they had filmed most of the season without him, but they're like, we should probably put them in there somewhere. So,
It's because they were like Daredevil is of course the star, him and Kingpin, but I would say Foggy and Karen are like the heart of the show.
yeah, there's a lot
Yeah,
more
bring
to
back
the
his
world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
They're definitely more of like, yeah, they're definitely more of the
I-
heart of the show, more of like what grounds.
it keeps Matt
Daredevil.
mad. It
Matt
keeps him as a
mad,
person. Yeah.
100%.
So
Oh,
I
well, yeah,
personally,
absolutely.
I've definitely read a decent share of comics, but I am not a Daredevil expert by any means. Do any of y'all know? I do believe in the comics, Bullseye kills Karen.
Yes.
That sounds right.
Elektra.
He
No,
kills
Elektra-
both of them.
Yeah, but I believe Karen does get killed by Bullseye, much in the manner of what we saw happen to Foggy.
Yeah, he
Just one
kills-
shot right in the middle of the street.
Yeah, he
outside
kills
of the-
Elektra.
it's like a
he
public
kills
thing, and-
Karen. He kills a couple other people related
Because
to
that's like Daredevil's nemesis. That's his rival.
yeah,
I
it's
was
his
like,
like Joker. Yeah.
Yeah,
There
that's
is
his
that,
Green
but-
Goblin.
I was
Yeah.
like, because I know when Bullseye kills Elektra, like that's when he like snaps, like.
And that's before,
actually
of course,
loses
Elektra
his shit.
becomes the unkillable woman.
becomes Elektra. Yeah.
Right.
The goddess of destruction.
Did Bullseye kill Elektra in the Ben Affleck one? I think he did
Yes.
in the
Oh,
movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the
that
Ben
was,
Affleck movie, yeah. But then
Yeah.
she was brought back because they had a contract signed with her already.
But I want to say one of the
This
first big
Elektra movie.
Let's see. You know what? I'm actually going to look it up real quick because I want to say it was a big deal when he killed Karen.
So he kills Karen in Daredevil's Volume 2, Number 5, March 10th, 1999.
Yeah, okay. It says during that one, Karen is fatally impaled by Daredevil's billy club when Bullseye uses it against him, and she takes the blow to save his life.
That's crazy. That's
So that could still happen.
well, because I was gonna say they kind of tried to work that in with the Ben Affleck one, because like that's half of that plot or whatever is where like Elektra's like fighting Daredevil in the second half of that movie, because she like finds the stupid club or whatever that Daredevil killed her dad, like her father with or whatever. Like I think they try to use some of that in that movie for like that, and to like pin it on him or whatever, right? And it makes them fight, and then of course, that's when Elektra gets killed by.
So in the comics, it says she was killed by Bullseye with one of her own, like her Psy.
Yeah,
and they're fighting to see who would be Kingpin's assassin.
seems about
So
right.
I guess she's like on that side at that point, and she manages to get to Daredevil's house and literally dies in his arms.
Tough.
So
Marvel characters do not have an easy life at all.
So considering what we know of the comics and everything, even if nobody else necessarily dies, like major character from him, I think we can all say it's safe to say we're gonna see Bullseye more. Correct?
Oh, 1000%. You're like it's like you said, he is kind of like the Joker for Daredevil, essentially.
Yeah, that's his Green Goblin. Like he's got to come back, and especially because he didn't technically get his revenge because of what happened with Foggy.
Right. It just
like
he got thrown off a roof for it.
I loved when he just threw him off the roof.
Oh yeah.
Well, just like I was like, beat. See ya.
And what I think is interesting,
I love it. Just ran up the ass and was just like,
king.
Like I love that. Like they fought, of course, in the last season and stuff, and they were very even. I think it's cool to see that we see that Daredevil was definitely like holding back.
Yeah.
But when he doesn't care if he kills somebody or not, apparently he's got some more juice in that tank.
He's got some gusto.
The Catholic guilt builds up, I'll tell you what.
He beat the shit out of that guy. Like Bullseye did not stand a chance.
No.
I mean, we'll talk about more beating at the end of this episode here.
Yeah.
But yeah. At that point, you're just like, yeah, it's pretty crazy and quick. It was just like, done.
And I think it's sad that basically the last thing Foggy told Matt is he didn't want to give him like a reason to be Daredevil.
Yeah. And
right.
He went on hiatus.
That he's still just very against his friend doing it, which is I'm assuming why he gave it up after that.
Daredevil, no.
Like a last wish kind of thing or whatever.
It's a reasonable thing. If your friend's out and fighting being a vigilante is fighting dangerous criminals.
Your blind friend at that.
Right?
Excuse me?
Well, your blind friend.
Oh yeah, your blind friend, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want him going out at night. Kidding me? No.
Well, so here's my question.
Night or day?
As I was watching it, obviously we get the year time jump or whatever. When does this slot into the MCU as far as what we've seen? Because we've seen Daredevil before. We've seen, obviously this comes after Echo, right?
Yes. Right. Because Echo, I'm assuming, took place, it seems like, because we have Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that led into Echo.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Echo into this. So I believe Hawkeye was after the snap has been taken care of. Because, like, remember, Hawkeye's in the bathroom of the musical, and somebody is like graffiti, Thanos was right.
And
all that.
Yes. Yeah.
So this has to be after the blip, and they've had time to settle back into society.
Yes. That is.
Now, I do believe originally the plan was that this was going to take place either during the blip, or like that's why Matt was going to be alone without Karen and Foggy. I think was the original.
Snapped.
Yes.
Or snapped, I guess.
Right. That it was going to be during those 5 years, and then that all kind of got rewritten.
So and with that, with the rewrites, I guess, like, small little note here, I guess it was like halfway in between, like of them shooting and like the writing thing, the writer's strike happened. Is what happened. So that's why a lot of it, I guess, got rewritten
And
which-
reshot and stuff, yeah.
and
Because I think they
reshot,
were doing reshoots when the strikes all started.
Yeah,
Which-
we weren't supposed to see Daredevil till like episode 4, like him in costume. At all.
That's
Like
way
nothing
too-
Daredevil wise.
Which
Sorry.
still might be the case. We don't know.
Yeah, but
No,
at least
he
we're
was
seeing him
literally
do
the first-
Daredevil thing.
Oh, at the beginning, yeah.
The intro.
I was
We
like,
saw
he was
Daredevil.
like
We
intro
saw
and-
We saw
He's still-
Daredevil episode 1.
and I was like, yeah.
Right. Nobody wants to see just a political drama for half the series.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it wouldn't even be like a political drama. It would be a court drama or whatever. Like,
Yeah, it's supposed to be a courtroom
Well,
drama. Yeah.
And look at
Which
how
is-
well Joker
Well,
fully
did the introduction
induced
of
it.
like the tattoos of the Punisher from the cops and everything too. So I kind of.
I thought that was real. Yeah, I think the Punisher, if not in this episode, like episode 3, definitely by episode 4, I think we'll have him back in it.
oh
I
yeah, they
agree.
definitely said he's going to be back. But yeah,
Yeah.
They
kinda
already,
hope so.
they already teased it a little bit, right, with the whole tattoos or whatever.
Because it's absolutely his icon.
Oh,
Well, the
1000.
tattoos and Fisk talks about him, like when he does his speech.
I also really like that he mentioned Spider-Man.
Mhm.
That was pretty cool.
Yes.
Like it was just a quick reference, but at least acknowledging him hopefully is going to lead us into the eventual. Because again, Kingpin's a really big bad guy for Spider-Man as well.
He is. Yeah, there's a huge crossover there. And there's usually a huge crossover between Spidey and Daredevil, like
Like they
kinda
team up a lot.
teaming up. Yeah, like teaming up quite a bit.
Well, not to mention, we haven't reviewed it yet, but Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man had a scene where Spidey fought Daredevil.
Well, that's not canon. We don't talk about that show.
No, it's not canon, but it's part.
That's multiverse.
still
That's
Disney. It's
multiverse
still
stuff
Disney,
that will
so-
never be real. Okay, Doom's gonna come by.
Okay,
He's gonna snap
come
it
on,
like
man.
Thanos. Is gone.
come on, man. Let me just say that they made a reference to him because he was also referenced in the Spider-Man show.
Isn't that the one where Norman Osborn is a woman?
No, he's. What do they do with Norman
No,
Osborn again?
No.
No, Norman Osborn in the new show is essentially Tony Stark for Spider-Man in this one.
Yeah, it's like a weird. They did some weird stuff with.
I
that
thought they
one.
changed him.
I like
Is
it,
he
though.
is he black?
Yeah, he's
now or
race
something?
swap. That's right.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
like that. I was like he's also
Yeah, he's race
black.
swap, but I mean, it doesn't. I don't really care about that stuff. It makes no difference to me whatsoever.
Originally,
No,
as long as
it's just
yeah.
it's weird.
long as
It's
the
weird to
character is
do it
still there.
though, animated wise.
It
I
felt
think
like
it makes sense. I think it makes
Like-
sense because of
Like
the
live
hair.
action, I can
Well,
understand.
if you're going to
they're gonna
justify
be
it off of
like-
that, that's thin. But
if it's live action, you're like, hey, this is who was the best actor for the part. That's why we race swapped. I get it. Like that at least makes some sense. Animated, it doesn't need to happen. Animated, you can literally do the comic.
it was deliberate.
It doesn't make a difference though. As long as the character is still the character, it doesn't make a difference.
But it sounds like he's not. You said he's like Tony Stark.
Yes, but it's only season 1 so far, and there's been we haven't discussed it yet, but there's also still nods to him being Green Goblin.
Well,
Like the glider has already made an appearance.
Sorry, it's the lizard. Dr. Connors is a woman now, right?
Dr.
Yes, Dr.
Connors,
Connors is
Yeah.
a woman.
Dr. Canners.
See, that's just so weird to me to swap like everything for no reason. I don't know. It's just weird to me. I don't know why they do stuff like that.
Originally, it was going to be the prequel to Tom Holland's Spider-Man too.
Right, it was going to be freshman year,
Mhm.
Weird.
and then they said, "Never mind, we're going to do our own thing."
Yeah, Kevin Feige was like, no.
I think he saw what they wanted to do and was like, "No."
He's like, you know what? You're right. No, so it's and as the story goes, it's this falls into the category, like this Daredevil show falls into the category of like before this, like Disney Plus kind of reimagining or whatever, the takeover bit of the like. Remember how you could have the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like show, but they had like references to like the big people in the like the MCU, but like they would never show up like alternate wise. Like,
Yes, they would
couldn't
mention
use
them, and the biggest we had, I think, was Nick Fury showing up.
Possibly, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
that
he was
and
in a
then
couple
like
episodes, and that was it.
and then obviously Coulson or whatever being in the Avengers,
and Lady Sif was in an episode
and
that
Sif was-
followed
yeah.
Thor 2. Like they tried to connect that, but that it ended up not being this universe.
but they were
Yeah,
they were essentially like the little guys from these like little series or whatever would never show up like in the main big like MCU kind of stuff. But it's one of those ones that there's this now that it's essentially like a part of it, right? And they're actually like making mentions to other things. A lot of people are hoping that Daredevil actually does makes his way up to the big leagues.
Especially since we did see him in No Way Home.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's what I mean. It's like they're actually going to start, moving
blending them together.
The show. Well, I mean, because like realistically, they did it with the Marvels. They did it with the Marvels.
Right, with Miss Marvel.
With Miss Marvel, and they did it backwards, I guess, with
and they also
Wanda.
did it. Well, they also did it with what's her name that was also in the Marvels, Monica Rambeau, because she started off in WandaVision.
In WandaVision, Yep.
Yeah. So I think they're doing a much better job of integrating it. And from what I understand, what happened with that is the guy who was in charge of Marvel TV was not Kevin Feige, and it was a different division than Marvel Studios. And that guy didn't like Kevin Feige, so he didn't want to play nice and be part of like the bigger picture. Because Kevin basically told him, he was like, we want to do it, but we don't want to make anything that happens in the TV show be necessary to understand the movies.
To get the movies.
Because they don't want people to not go to the movie because they haven't seen the TV show. And I was like, I get it.
Yeah, it's like, if that's the case, you are kind of losing out on money, right? Of like, oh, well, I didn't go see this movie because I didn't watch the Disney Plus show or whatever. It's just like, and that's kind of, I think, some of the issues that you run into with Marvel is that it got really big and it started branching off to where you did have to watch, like some of like Loki season 2 or
it's becoming like real comics where there's a bunch of side stories that, there's like the main story, but then there's so many branches off that you're not going to catch all the references and things in the main story if you haven't read like the Loki side story or the Runaways or and even with the one that's upcoming, or like the Thunderbolts movie that's coming out soon, like same thing. Like that's another one that's like a weird. It's not weird, but it is a like smaller, like random team. I don't know. It's going to be the new Black Widow. It's the Winter Soldier, who's been in a ton of movies.
Right.
I think the biggest thing is what we just saw with Brave New World. If you didn't watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there was a lot of things that you're just like, what?
Well, even then, if you didn't watch the last Black Widow movie, if you didn't watch Hawkeye, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like you're gonna miss a lot for, at least for knowing who those.
You're not gonna know who the
I will say
is or whatever.
Thunderbolts. You'll know almost everybody except U.S. Agent, who was like the fake Captain America for a while. Correct, everybody else, I feel like because you've seen Ghost, you've seen Taskmaster, you've seen Yelena, you've seen Bucky, of course, and you've seen Red Guardian. So
Yelena was in Echo 2, right? Because she's made multiple. Yelena was in Echo 2, right?
No, she was in Hawkeye.
She was in Hawkeye.
That's right.
She was a big part of that. Her and with Haley Steinfeld.
Well, it's crazy though because like it's like three of the characters are all from the Black Widow movie.
Yeah, but I think, to be fair, I think a lot of people saw Black Widow.
Right. I'm not saying that they didn't, but it's just like that's a very heavy, like Black Widow movie.
It's a deep
three of the 5 characters to be from what, like
if it makes you feel better, I think only one of them's gonna make it out alive. So
you think so?
Yeah,
I think more than one of them.
No, one out of those 3.
Yeah.
Sorry,
and I meant the Thunderbolts as far as like.
Well, Yelena for sure because she's on the casting call. So
I think Yelena's gonna make it, but I think Taskmaster, who I think we've only seen like one scene in the trailer, and
I think Taskmaster's.
I think she's gone pretty quick, and then I have a feeling Red Guardian will die by the end.
See, he's on the casting list. So I don't know. Could be fake, but
he's back or forth. I don't know about him, but from what I understand,
Taskmaster, it's gone.
The rumor I've heard is the only ones that survive are Bucky and Yelena.
Which, as far as like going forward, like to kind of slim down the team, it would make sense.
Yeah, and then and at the end they approach Punisher to join them. That's like the end credit scene or something, is what I've heard as a rumor. I don't know if that's true, but I think people would be very excited if that's.
And for me, like it's one of those things. Like, and what I meant by like the smaller teams is like, I don't know if you've noticed, but like even from the beginning, it's one of those things that like Iron Man was never like an A tier character. Like,
not before the movies. Nope.
Right, and I put him at like a B plus maybe.
I mean, just like Guardians of the Galaxy were like D.
Guardians are D-list characters, dude. Like it's crazy to me. Because it's just one of those ones that like realistically, I think most people, when you mention Marvel, right? Like I as far as like A tier characters go, it's probably Spider-Man,
Gotta be. He's the top.
like top number one, right? And then you probably have
Probably
Captain
Wolverine and
America,
Hulk
Fantastic
are both
Four.
pretty high up there.
I'd probably say Captain America is
Captain
up there
America.
because he's pretty, it's Captain
See,
America.
but I would also say before the movies,
Yeah,
Captain
was
America was
C-tier.
seen as pretty hokey.
Yeah, he was
Sure,
C-tier
like, don't get
with
me wrong,
Iron
like,
Man a
He was
little bit,
popular. I agree. He was up there. But
right.
he was
but-
seen as like a cheesy kind of. They didn't
Yeah.
think that a movie would be like successful like it was.
Oh no, because have you seen any of the old Captain America movie? Like it's cheesy,
rough.
bro. Like
It's
it is rough to watch. So it's one of those
I
ones
know.
I get it of like it's like, ooh, this is
And also with Captain America, they had to face the challenge of adapting him to modern times, since his first original comic appearances were in the 1940s. With,
Yeah, because Captain
Hitler
America
and all
was
that
part
stuff.
of Marvel before Stan Lee even was.
right. That was like
Mhm.
Captain America was, one of,
It was-
if not the first Marvel guy,
It was
So
And he was
He
100% propaganda, baby.
1000%.
no, it was
right?
it was
Like,
exactly
Fire
that.
bombs.
That's what I was trying to say. It was propaganda. It was all just trying to rally the troops.
I think
Of-
they did
of course
such a
he's
good
fighting the
job.
Red Hood, who is what? A Nazi. Like it's just it's 1000% propaganda.
Fine.
Red Hood is DC. Red Skull.
Or Red Skull, sorry.
Okay, calm
Yeah,
down.
Red Skull, my fault. But either
Yeah, Red
way,
Hood's not a Nazi.
you're exactly
He's
right
just
though.
a
It's
really-
like this is
really angry
Red Hood's
teenager.
just a dick.
This is violent as
Red-
one, but But I mean, to that note, too, like look what happened with Thor 2. He was just nothing but doth and thous, and then he actually got updated to a modern day speaking character that wasn't just as corny as he was in the comics. Because as strong as he was also no higher than a C tier just because of how corny he was as time went on.
right.
because
not
he was
only
just a
and that's what I'm
mythological
saying.
character.
Like there's a lot of these characters they're bringing them from the C and D tier lists and trying to like bring them like up through the thing. Because like if I'm being honest, like Black Widow really is she's a C.
Oh, just like
C-tier
Hawkeye.
character.
Well,
If
Maybe
that, yeah. Her and Hawkeye,
Even
like
going- Even going back to the Guardians of the Galaxy that you mentioned earlier, I remember when the first movie came out, and everyone was like, "Who the hell are these
the hell are these-
characters?"
And then it
Right.
was fantastic.
Star-Lord. Why do we care? And it's like, oh,
Well, see,
we
and
really care.
so like I think that lends a point, right? To you know how I'm always talking about like how it's like with some of these movies, like they get like these big name actors, right? A la Borderlands. Movie was terrible, but it was like one of those things that they had all these like big name actors and all this kind of stuff
And a big property.
right? For like almost no reason, but it's like that movie wouldn't have been as bad, or it might have been, I don't know, maybe less bad if you got no named people to be, in the Borderlands characters, and then you make them more accurate to the actual like character. It probably would have been a little bit better.
because if you
Versus
want to
having
show up for
Kevin
the actual
Hart as-
actors. Yeah,
Yeah.
because if you want to show out for the characters for at least like Kevin Hart or Kate Blanchett, you should have been also willing to shill out for a good script. But people are more forgiving if it's just no names that just come out there that has a big director like Eli Roth just taking the helm. Then you're like, I'll do it. I'll give it a little bit of a break because it's a budget movie. It is what it is. But when you're willing
Like
to
if
shill out that much
you
money,
have an
Right.
incredible story, I'll go watch a cast of unknowns. I don't care.
And that's
Yep.
my point, right? It's one of those things that, like, realistically, the characters of the Guardians of the Galaxy are unknowns. Like, with the exception of Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon, and I'm like a pretty big Marvel person, I didn't know who Gamora, Drax, or Groot were. I was like, I know who Rocket Raccoon is because he's
Cool. Yeah.
well, he's cool,
I
but
heard
it's
the
also
name.
like
He
you're like, dude,
stands
it's a
out
raccoon with
as
a gun,
like
like
a
it stands out. You know what I mean?
kind of like how we all know about what's his name, Howard the Duck.
Right. Again, another
E tier.
E tier character, but it's
Just
funny
an
'cause he
obscure, yeah.
was brought up in the 80s. Like it's
S
you know what I
tier
mean?
character.
Oh yeah,
but
he's
he
heavily
does have God qualities.
No, he's not S
so-
tier. Hitmonkey is S tier.
Hit Monkey. Good God. But yeah, so but either way, it's like taking all these like lower characters. Like Marvel's kind of like, especially the cinematic universe has been doing that lately. Because it's one of those ones like like I said, I put Daredevil maybe C tier unless he shows up with Spider-Man or whatever every once in a while. But like realistically, I feel like the big top three people that you had for the most part of like anybody would know at Marvel is like I guess technically S tier or whatever, right? is Spider-Man, Captain America, and probably Wolverine.
I would
Or, like,
say Hulk.
I'd maybe throw Hulk in
yeah.
there too, but you
I
know what
think
mean?
honestly, I think
Very
Hulk was
short list, to be
probably
honest.
up until these movies started. I think it was probably Spider-Man, Hulk, and the X-Men in general.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
can
think
see-
I'm
I
going
don't
to
think
add one
Cap
more on there.
was way up there.
He wasn't. I'm going to say one more thing. I think honestly, Punisher was probably at least A tier, not S tier, but he was at least
People
in the
knew him
90s.
though.
'cause
Yeah.
he came out like in the 90s where like all that grunge stuff was coming out.
the
Like
gritty
late
stuff.
80s stuff.
Like the skull
Exactly.
shirts were
So he was
everywhere.
really popular. Exactly. Like
Yeah,
especially when the
Grayson,
movie was like
I'll give you that. I'll give him a low A, maybe a high B. You know,
Yeah,
because
Toy
I
Story
agree.
even
It-
had it.
he came.
Are we doing a tier list of Marvel characters?
Kind
Or Are
of.
we talking about
No, I
Daredevil?
mean,
Born
yeah,
Again?
first.
well, no, it's to the
Yo,
point, though,
Spider-Man
like,
SS tier. That's all I care about.
right. But I'm just saying,
Double
like, it's to the point of like,
sorry. Did you just say Spider-Man was part of the SS?
Whoa, what?
No,
Wow.
not putting words in my mouth.
He,
Wow.
No,
he meant the Spider Squad, David.
Wow.
no.
That
No,
SS
Spider-Man S tier. Everybody else A and below.
and below, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's like my point is they're taking all these characters that are, way down on the list, man, and like kind of taking them and making them
Elevated.
more elevated and bringing them up to like a little bit of a higher status. Because even then, I'd consider like the Black Panther be probably low B, maybe C plus, like tops.
He was like Doctor Strange. They're like C's that they're
Yeah,
obscure.
like Strange is another one who's like
I wanna
C
say the
C
Black-
tier. It's crazy.
I want to say Black Panther like was really popular back in like the 70s because
back
he
when
was
the Black Panthers were around. Yes.
Probably,
yeah,
yeah. I
back
was
when the
like,
Black Panthers were around. He became
Yeah.
He was
Okay, what
very
about
popular. He was
Blade?
probably like A tier at that point, but then
Blade is
after
probably
that,
a high C,
it-
low B.
which
Even with the
Blade?
movies?
Oh no, dude!
I think when the movies came out, I
didn't-
don't think people even really related him to the comics, to be fair.
I would
I
tell
didn't-
you that
I didn't
Blade
really
is probably
care
a
for the
B
Blade movies.
plus
I only watched the first
Yeah.
one
until
though.
the movie in '97.
Yeah, until the
Yeah.
movies, he was way down there, and with the movies, still not higher than a B in my opinion. I
Well,
don't
and
think
it
he
was-
ever made it to
I
A.
didn't. I only watched the first Blade movie. My friend growing up was obsessed with them. He watched all of them, and he would have them in the background when I come over. But I still didn't really care for them.
Dude, Blade
He's
was like
just too
a
obscure.
mildly throwaway character. It was crazy. So he was like, he's been around since the '70s. Don't get me wrong, but like when he first showed up, he's wearing like he honestly looked like Luke Cage. They looked very very similar. So he's wearing like a yellow shirt and like green pants, and it you wouldn't know it's Blade. It's kind of like
Oh, you know
terrible.
what? To kind of bring it back to Daredevil, I'll say that with the Netflix series, I don't think Jessica Jones or Luke Cage or Iron Fist all low tier.
Oh,
yeah.
Iron Fist is
100%.
bottom
Absolutely.
tier.
Is it-
Jessica Jones bottom tier. Luke Cage again bottom tier. Like
Was
The-
it possible for them to go lower because of this shows?
Well, I
Well,
mean, like Daredevil
of them,
was
yes.
definitely the well-known and highest tier character of the Defenders.
of the Defenders,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Oh yeah, but for me personally, I knew Iron Fist before the show, and I was excited for the show.
Oh, yeah.
But after
And the show was awful.
I was gonna say after the show, I'm no longer a fan of the character. Really,
Hey, Nick, you'll get to see him again because they're apparently bringing everybody back now, it sounds like.
They don't know. I think they're still they're talking
I was gonna
about
say
it.
they don't know
Bring
because
back
I
not
saw
Finn Jones or Sam Finn or whatever the hell the dude's name is.
They're
To
talking
be
to
fair,
both of them.
If
Yeah.
we
Jessica
see them
Jones
again,
is the
I
most
think
likely
it's
to come back.
more. I think it's more that they want to put as many people as possible into Doomsday / Secret Wars, where we'll see everybody, and
which
then
would
I
be
think.
super cool. Yeah.
But I think after this, we're not going to see a lot of these people ever again.
I think
think-
Jessica Jones
Like,
is the
that's what he's
main
saying.
I mean,
one.
they're
that's
even
like on
bringing. I mean, Oscar Isaac is even going to be Apocalypse again, supposedly.
Yeah, they're not
Let's
bringing back
go.
Moon Knight.
Yeah,
What?
Moon Knight won't be in it,
I-
maybe, but they're
So
going to
why
have.
not?
I thought I heard
I
a
think he
rumor
did
that
fantastic.
Moonlight has been in talks to get a season 2.
No,
I
they
think it's-
canceled it.
They don't know yet.
Cancel
It's
They're doing
It has a lot to
what's-
do with how well a lot of stuff goes, I think, because they're
They're-
kind of rewriting a lot. Because the season 2 of Moon Knight was all based on the Kang storyline, because
Yeah.
he's
Oh,
that
well,
emperor
that's not
in the
happening
past.
anymore.
So
Yeah.
basically, their story for season 2 got shot. So now it's like, well, we'll
so
figure
they're
out where to put
doing
it.
Speaking of
Midnight
another low-
Suns.
Speaking of
Yeah,
another
he'll be in Midnight
Midnight
Suns in the
Suns.
movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of another low tier character though, Moon Knight,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Another
Way
really
down there.
obscure character, like way down
super
there.
obscure character. I think I've seen him referenced in one Marvel video game, and that was Spider-Man: Webs of Shadows. And
Right.
I don't know.
He shows
What
up
I
every
really
all
once in
you
a
do
like,
is you just talk to him on the roof, and he's super cryptic.
I
Yeah,
really like that
that
he
sounds about
became
right.
like a meme
Like a
for a
royalty
while,
personality schizophrenic
where
would be.
everybody was making like fake comics where they would Photoshop in what he's saying, and Moon Knight's just
Random
always
bullshit.
he's just always trying to like borrow money from the Avengers and like steal shit. And they're
Yeah.
like, God damn it, Moon Knight. And he's like, fuck you guys, and like runs away. Like,
One of my favorite ones that I've actually seen recently. I don't know if it's like a photoshopped one or not. But it was like I can't remember. It was a conversation between him and somebody else. But they're like, you know what? They're like, you know what, Moon Knight, you need some hobbies. And he goes, I have a hobby. And she's like, hating the government is not a hobby. And he's like, yeah, I don't care what you say.
yeah,
He's
Moon
like,
Knight
yes,
is
yes, it
always
is.
just like this very standoffish, like,
Yeah, he's like,
I don't
no,
give a
it
fuck.
is. He's like, yes, it is. Don't start with me. That is a hobby. Knock it off, lady.
But yeah,
But-
I think we see him in Midnight Suns with Blade.
Yeah, they
And
already said that.
I still think that's where we're going to see Blade first. I don't think we're going to get to Blade
though?
solo first.
Are we getting what's
Ali.
his next Blade?
Ollie.
No, it's Ali.
I don't know.
Dude,
I think he went off to do other projects because he knew he wasn't getting his stuff.
No, he did Jurassic Park, but he'll be back.
All right. Well,
Or
Yeah,
I
they're
mean, or they may recast, but it's not going to be Wesley.
time will tell, sir. Time
We'll
will
see.
tell.
Honestly, I just want to
Snipes
see him
in
run into Moon Knight just
Doomsday.
in Dracula's
I
club
think
trying to
I
get.
think we see Snipes come back. In Doomsday
Yeah.
/ Secret Wars though. I could totally see that.
That would be cool, actually.
I think we'll see everybody.
You know
So
who I really look forward to?
It's gonna be like
Hopefully,
4 hours long.
Gambit. Because
That'd be
apparently
sick.
they said at the end of Daredevil or
That he
Daredevil,
didn't
Deadpool,
die. Yeah.
that they're that he sees a little and is like, oh, let's go.
you know what I'm looking forward to? Episode 3 of Daredevil Born Again. Let's talk about episodes 1 and 2.
Okay, no,
All right,
you
yeah.
know what? But no,
But
talking
yeah.
about obscure characters and everything, this is a good point that they've brought in White Tiger.
Yes, White Tiger,
Yep.
another
Very
obscure like hero. Like
Not only that, but the popular, the well-known White Tiger for people who know White Tiger isn't even Hector. Like, it's not this guy. It's his dog. It's a female character commonly. So I think it's very interesting how they're starting off with him, and it makes me wonder if he's going to pass the mantle on in this.
right.
I mean, isn't the
I think he might be-
actor unfortunately passed away too?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they're gonna force that to be passed on with like cops probably getting to him in prison or something, just pass along
mean,
that torch.
Kind of like Keegan said, we talk about beating. Like, those cops came in at the end of the episode 2. They were ready to kill him.
Right.
100%.
It was going to happen, and they were like, I guess we'll just kill this lawyer.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're wasting this lawyer. I was like, wait a minute.
I love
Damn.
that was the reaction. Like, well, someone's dying. And then
Like, I know,
Daredevil's
there's like,
call an
hey,
ambulance. But
Here's this
not for
blind
me.
guy.
Yeah,
that's call an ambulance, but not for me.
Call an ambulance, but not for me. Yeah. Ooh, those guys aren't calling nobody after that.
And I do like that we're kind of also touching on the same issues that he had at the end of season 3, where he was dealing with the morality of being Daredevil or not,
Daredevil,
and how far he can take it. It does kind of echo Batman too, I think.
Yeah.
Those same
Yeah,
kind
they
of
no
like,
killing. Yeah.
I think it echoes
right.
a lot of comic book characters, not just Batman, but like I know Spider-Man has had
well, I guess with guys
wrestling
without
with morality
powers,
as well too.
you know what I mean? And I
But
kind of
especially
wonder,
how brutal it has to be.
as we know the Punisher is in this, I wonder if the Punisher is going to be the one to be like, nah, dude, it's cool. We just blow their heads off. Like,
Nah,
let's
bro,
go.
that's cool. Yeah. No, I got these grenades right here.
There is
What?
a comic line. There is a comic storyline where Daredevil and Punisher talk about morality. So I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Well, I mean, they
adapted
did it. They
into
did it
this
when
season.
Punisher was in Daredevil before too. When
True.
he was with him in court and everything. Like, I know there was a lot going on there, and then he and Karen, Punisher and Karen, had a lot of conversations like that during his seasons.
Well, now that Fisk is in charge of the entire city of New York, I think it's honestly going to put them both in a position where they have to rely on each other, where Daredevil's going to have to go a little bit more morally gray to kind of get done what he wants to get done to protect the city of New York.
I
Yeah,
think that would be kind of a cool. And then Fisk has to rein in his like Kingpin-esque ways, which I mean, like to be fair, like to his credit, he's kind of held it together so far. Like, because the only like grimy thing that he's done so far, like Kingpin-esque, was using the police commissioner to get him to like either back him or to get him to stay, I guess.
and I liked how he was like, "These are the concessions I'll give you." He gave like nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, I was like, damn, all right.
He
love
basically,
that.
I'm not giving you shit. Get out of
drives
my
a hard
office.
bargain. All right.
I love that. I love that after that too. He's like, by the way, that sandwich tasted like shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that reveal was cold as hell. Where he was just like, "Oh yeah, this is the best sandwich in the city," and then he sees the photograph just sitting there. Just that reveal of his kid just sitting like in the diner, cold as hell. I love that entire
Secret kid.
entire thing.
Well, and see, that's the thing. Like, remember we were talking about like villains who are like, you kind of like them a little bit. Like that was like one of those. That was like up there. That was one of those moments of you go, damn, dude was a dick.
That
was a damn cool, damn good move.
It's also pretty shady that he's specifically going to Daredevil's new lady to do the counseling.
That was wild.
So
he's doing it on purpose. Like
okay.
Wait, when you saw the guy walk up,
I don't think so.
Thank you. 100%.
You think he just accidentally found her?
Right. Well, because
that other guy started showing up as soon as her and Matt were doing anything.
The dude at the book tour, the guy shows up and has her sign and goes, "Thank you." 100%. That's not at all unintentional.
Yeah, no. Kingpin said follow them.
You think so?
Yes, it's definitely a part of it. I think he is still genuinely doing therapy, trying to save his marriage.
Right.
But he's also getting his hooks into somebody that Matt cares about, because Karen and Foggy are gone now.
Well,
so he's got to have leverage, as we saw like with the sandwich shop with the kid and everything. He wants leverage over Matt, because Matt at any time, I mean, they know each other's deepest secrets.
They do. Well,
like that was the whole conversation, is that Matt was basically like, I'm going to be watching every single thing you do, and if you step out of line once, I got you.
I'm coming for you.
So
he also
goes, I'm not going to tolerate any vigilantes in my city.
Yeah, he also didn't deny stealing the election either. He just kind of like
non-answered it.
Yeah, he's like, it's pretty bad out there,
It's what the people want. Yeah.
I do think also, I think that was probably the best scene out of the 2 episodes, was the conversation with Kingpin and Daredevil.
The diner scene, yep.
I thought that was a really good, very tense. I think they acted their asses off. They did a very good job.
Oh, absolutely.
To that point, I love like when Matt walked off, you just kind of see like the fake like niceness that the Kingpin was putting on to talk to Matt kind of oozes away, and you just see him tighten up and just get pissed. I love that just so much. I'm so ready to see what happens the rest of the season.
Yeah, because they're like 2 equally matched forces, basically.
And going off of Nolan's point of liking certain characters, even though they're bad, I think part of that for this series is Vincent D'Onofrio's portrayal.
He's so good.
So good at it. I love it. And even when he was in the Netflix series, like this is the definitive Kingpin for me.
I mean,
if you make a psychopath lovable, or at least likable enough, you're doing something right.
And you feel bad for him with the whole thing with his wife.
Yeah.
Right.
Like she's literally cheating on him with some random dude, and like I feel bad for him.
I mean, yes, but at the same time, he was.
Oh, but he did it to himself. So
he's also. Well,
I was gonna say it's not like
he's
it
also
wasn't his
a murderer
fault,
and money launderer and a huge criminal. I don't feel bad for him.
She is becoming just as twisted as him, but he pushed her into that life.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. I was like, I think it's crazy, like how we're seeing her like take over the business and make that shit almost airtight, and it's like crazy that like she did that, especially after like, because in the previous seasons or whatever, he's trying to protect his family and keep them like from that as much as he can, and I think it's absolutely crazy how she's like, oh, it's cool, I'm gonna be the female Kingpin and be better at it than you, bro. It's whatever. Yeah. And then he comes back and he's like, oh, what have you been doing? Oh, well, I took shit over and ran it better than you did, so what's up?
Exactly. Yeah.
I like that she pointed out in the therapy session too. Like, well, work relationships between management and our employees is better. Probably because there's no threat of violence immediately.
Because she's never put somebody's head in a car door and slammed it 20 times to kill them. Just
look, he
still
didn't
the most
slam his head in a car door. Okay, there was an obstruction, and he was just simply trying to force the door closed multiple times. That's all.
He's just following
He's a good
guy.
The
obstruction being somebody's head.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It was
not his fault.
His head should have been in the way.
Get out of the way, obviously.
But I definitely think it is off to a good start. It does remind me a lot of the Netflix series without being the same. I do feel the reboot tinges here and there, and kind of a slightly different production. What did you guys think of the on the street kind of thing, the BB report?
I kind of dig it.
I felt like it felt very real.
Yeah,
it
no,
gives,
I
like,
liked.
I like just how it gives the just the in-universe perspective of the people that have to deal with this situation.
Right, because it does you get the
I get what you're talking about.
I like that on like getting the feel of the city, right? Because like yeah, sometimes you can use that to the advantage of your storytelling.
Well,
Right,
I think anytime you set something in New York City, but especially something like Daredevil here, I feel like New York City is a character of its own.
Right.
Yeah, look what Spider-Man 1 did. They had sort of the same thing where like just average Joes were talking about him.
Exactly. Yeah.
He
And
stinks, and I don't like him.
Yeah. It felt a lot like
So-
I half expected it to be almost like the Daily Bugle. Do you know what I mean? Like part of
Yeah.
that.
I was
So
really
the
hoping that
problem-
I would catch one from J. Jonah Jameson. He's a menace. Just like
There's
Like him just
one-
supporting Kingpin.
yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to the whole New York City, like getting the interviews of the people, the only problem I have, the only gripe I have with it is the fact that this is already a very well established MCU.
Mhm.
So Daredevil is not the only hero. We have Spider-Man. We have
Spider-Man 2, yeah.
Well, that's why they mentioned it, and they haven't really talked much about. I mean, they've said vigilantes in general, but not like
Right,
just
right.
Daredevil or something. So I think
right,
that's
but the thing is, they have people like, oh, the city needs Daredevil. It's like, but where's like Spider-Man? Where's like the Haley Steinfeld's character?
so.
Kate
My only
Bishop.
thought about
There's
that
like there's
is
already
I don't think
heroes that would be stopping crime.
well, Kate Bishop isn't around there. She's still training, as far as we know, with Hawkeye.
Right.
So
she's
she's
doing
not
whatever.
there. And I want to say Spider-Man, maybe it's just that Spider-Man kind of hangs out around like his area, whereas like Hell's Kitchen and stuff might be more of where Daredevil was
What was
active.
that? So
You
and
know,
I was
like that area of
yeah,
New-
very different sections of New York. Very
It
far.
probably
I was
depends
gonna
on
say
where you're
Spider-Man 2 is a
interviewing.
very large place, right? Like
Yeah.
for it to be jam-packed in such a small area, it still is a really large place. You do have 5 boroughs for the most part.
Because I
So it's
guarantee
like-
there's enough crime in New York to keep them busy in each individual neighborhood.
Right, like Spider-Man
True.
can't handle
Exactly.
something all the way in Manhattan, and then you know what I mean, like and
It's-
Hell's Kitchen at the same time or whatever. It's like
Like
you might
Brooklyn's
be
on
asking a little
fire,
much.
but if you're over here,
True.
you ain't gonna be helping.
Right.
True. Now my next question is where in the timeline does this take place? Because we have to take like it feels like it picks up right after the Netflix series. It's taking place. But we also had the Daredevil scenes from She-Hulk, and as we mentioned earlier, the scene from No Way Home.
Well, is
Yeah.
that gonna be okay? So, but is that like
It
added?
takes
Is
place
that gonna be
after
canon?
She-Hulk.
Because like he's gone like, and I say this because he's rocking the red suit, right? And in She-Hulk or whatever, he was wearing the ugly ass mustard one. So
I've got to say, I have to imagine the She-Hulk scene probably happened in between Foggy dying and where we see him a year later.
you think so?
I
I
don't
can
like.
see that. I can see.
Seems
I can
like
see
he
the
wouldn't have picked up any costume.
I mean,
I can see. I can see it happening between the defense, like season 3, and this new season.
actually, you know
I
what?
think She-Hulk happened post Blip, and then this is obviously way after She-Hulk.
No, She-Hulk is after the blip. They already said that.
Well, what I'm
Right.
saying is like, yeah, She-Hulk happens after the Blip, but then like what this situation happens is after the stuff in She-Hulk. Is what I'm
I
saying.
think I think their conversation with them all and everything before Foggy dies, that was probably like a couple months after She-Hulk, I would guess.
Okay, because
I
I
can
was
see
like, there's probably
That would make
but-
sense of why he was there and that he
Yeah.
was okay hooking up with Jen and stuff because he and Karen were already over.
I would say that there's
Because they make
possibly
it
that.
clear when they're talking that they can't. They've decided to just be workmates and friends.
Right. And then on top of that, I want to say they cut out She-Hulk altogether. Like it might not even be part of the.
But if they don't cut her
MCU.
out,
If they don't,
I
yeah.
could. But if they don't have her cut out, which she's not out of the MCU. They've already shown the concept art.
It's just going to be a
of
different
her.
multiverse. Is
But
what
I think She-Hulk can still have happened, and I think once what happened with Foggy that he gave up Daredevil altogether is why he could have just straight up ghosted Jen and been like, I don't want anything to do with the superhero work. You know,
Yeah. No.
that's
No
another
superhero.
life.
No nothing. Yeah.
Right. That would at least
I'm
give us a reason for why he cut ties with her for seemingly nothing between them.
Right.
Just I can't be a part of that.
I'm gonna focus on being Matt Murdock lawyer.
Exactly. Like I can just see that it's like, hey, you're a superhero, and that's kind of what our biggest thing in common was.
And I don't
I
want to be
can't-
part of that no
I
more.
can't do
Yep.
this. Yeah. And that, Foggy, I mean, he's been his best friend his whole life.
Right.
So
I'm
I think
gonna
it's
distance myself from
traumatic
it.
enough that if anybody pushes it and they say that's the reason, I could buy it.
Fair.
I can see that.
That's what I would guess. That's what would make the most sense, because we don't have a firm word on She-Hulk, yes or no, of what is canon or not. I'm just going to assume until they say it's not that it is. And that would be my best guess. It probably happened before, like after everybody comes back from the blip, and before the scene that we saw where Foggy dies. Somewhere in that time span with his Daredevil stuff is when She-Hulk happened and he came back. And then Foggy dies and it alters his life.
Just all goes to shit. Well, sort of. So because we do get the White Tiger, which I think is cool. I also like how like Matt kind of gives like he just kind of like explodes on him at the prison. That was an interesting little like,
about him lying.
Tidbit. Well, because he wasn't lying necessarily. He just didn't. I don't know. Is it lying by omission by like not? By not saying everything or whatever. But I love the line that he used of what was it? I can't win if I don't know how I'm gonna lose or something like that.
Right.
If I don't know every way I can lose. There we go.
Now, do you guys feel like this was deliberately following like parallels of the real world? Like, do you think that there is a parallel between Fisk's election and Trump, or
just to not get canceled by anybody? I will say neutral.
Okay. And then the police brutality is obviously going to be a very long storyline, and corruption and stuff, and that's kind of been a real world ongoing thing. Yeah. Do you guys think that that's all kind of,
I think it's very, very much.
I chalk it up to happy coincidence.
I don't know if it's just happy coincidence, because obviously this happened before, so maybe it is. But I just find it odd that Marvel ran 2 of these kind of storylines, and they cut out all the stuff from Captain America that leaned more heavily towards the Trump stuff.
Which I think they probably had, like with the reshoots and stuff, they probably had more time to think that over.
Yeah, so they cut most of that off. So it's interesting they left it in here, but I think it's just more of who
Kingpin is. Yeah, I know somebody asked Vincent in an interview if he was deliberately trying to like channel or act like any specific politician or whatever, and he flat out said no. He said he was doing his regular Kingpin acting, and then like politicians in general, not anybody specifically. So at least on his part, he was not trying to do a parallel, but I think the storyline in general, you could definitely see some similarities, I think, for good or bad. I'm not saying.
I mean, you get some Reagan stuff in there.
I'm going to switch my stance to Grayson.
Yeah, you can apply it to any corrupt politician, to be honest with you.
I'm going to switch my stance to Grayson. It's just happy coincidence.
We also don't know that he's corrupt.
Exactly. Well, I mean, what I'm saying is like we don't know he's corrupt, but at the same time, the fervor, the ideas where people get behind a certain politician where we think they're bad, it can be applied to numerous
anybody.
people.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm going to disagree with you there. We do know he's corrupt.
Well, corrupt we as the audience know, the citizens don't know.
Right. But corrupt indicates that he's like working for somebody, something else. I don't think Kingpin's working for anybody else's means but his own. And that wouldn't be corrupt.
No.
Yeah, you could see him legitimately actually believing he needs to help New York.
Right. And that's what makes him a sympathetic villain for some bit, is that
he
wants the city to succeed, but he's also going to succeed because the city is. Like, it's going to be a means to an end for him as well, is kind of what, but that's not corruption.
Beneficial for him and the city, essentially.
Right, because he's not working for anybody. Nobody's paying him off. Nobody has him in their pocket.
No, he's that's the whole thing. He is the kingpin. It's just he is the kingpin.
And that's why you can't nail him on corruption or something, because there's nothing that says he's corrupt. He's just not a good guy.
He's just not he's not exactly.
But it seems more from what I've seen so far, it looks like he actually has the city's welfare in his mind. Like he wants the city to do better and wants to accomplish things, but the way he's going to go about it is his criminalistic, brutal ways that other people would disagree with, like threatening the guy's family to get the cops to stay on board.
To get the cops to
or not following the permits to get the hole filled. He's like, no, just fill it.
Exactly.
Fill it. You've got it on my authority. The mayor said, fill it.
Right. So I wouldn't say corrupt. I would just say very much not caring about the law necessarily, or what is
determined.
That makes it more difficult to call him a bad guy, because he's still getting stuff done, is what they're going to point to be like, but he's accomplishing so much good. Do we look the other way so that we still get the benefits, or?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Cause like, if you take the big ass pothole, for example, like that's exactly it. Right. it's like most people would be like, oh, well, he didn't go about that the right way. And it's like, yeah, but everybody's happy because this hole's filled and traffic moves now. Like, nobody's going to give a shit about the red
Yeah,
tape.
people don't get into wrecks on a hill now, like,
Also,
is anybody
how did that
really going to be mad
pothole
about that?
happen?
Well,
Was
that
it
was
Spider-Man?
I don't think it was a pothole. It was just a big ass sinkhole in the road. But you know what I mean? Like, it is one of those ones that, like, sometimes you do the non-right thing, and that
You
makes
do the
people
right thing the
happier.
wrong way.
The right thing the wrong, yeah. And and people can kind of get behind that sometimes, of like, oh, well, sweet, now I don't have to wait another hour for my commute to work or whatever because this big ass hole is filled. And it's like, oh, I'm on his side. Like, he did that, right? Versus being like, that guy was a villain. I don't really care. He kind of helped me out,
See, but it's funny that he's doing that
life easier.
because, kind of in his own way, if he's trying to speak out against vigilantism, that's kind of what vigilantism is. Like, hey, I beat the shit out of this guy so the cops could catch him because he killed 3 people. Are you really
Right.
going to say that the vigilante was wrong to do that?
No, because
Yeah,
this guy's a bad guy.
But
Yeah.
it's not through the law of, so it's they're kind of morally gray both in their own ways.
Yes.
To your
Grayson,
point,
what are you
there's going
trying
to
to
be
say?
major contention between both of them for this season, where it's just going to be, well, you do this and you do this. So where there'll be overwhelming support for Fisk, there will also be overwhelming support for the vigilantes when, as he has his connections, because his wife's obviously still in the life, she's going to use that to his advantage. And then when Daredevil steps in, everyone that was affected by him stepping in with his mob ties, that'll be, I think, a major part of this that we haven't seen yet. And I'm kind of ready for it, going to be honest with it.
Okay, question. What do we think is going on with the cops? Because none of that gets explained. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that's still something we have.
To that precinct.
Clearly, they're all fans of the brutality of the Punisher.
Sure. Yeah, I think they're Punisher fanboys. I don't think
they're
working for him.
No, I don't think Punisher would not tell them to do this, but I think a lot of them have adopted his symbol to be like, this guy's got the right idea, just gun them all down.
Kind of thing, yeah. Well, and it's funny, David, that you say that because you're talking about like the political bit, right? Or like it being like tied to things with like the whole police. Honestly, police brutality isn't a new concept. You know what I mean?
No.
Like
it's been an ongoing issue for decades.
Ongoing old thing or whatever. So like that's not really like a new storyline that I don't think they're doing, right? And there's always something like that going around with the like corrupt cops or just corrupt government officials, and so like those storylines aren't new for anybody realistically.
Yeah, hell, Batman does it like half the episodes.
Right.
Now those are corrupt cops though in Gotham.
True.
They are all bought and sold by the mob.
I'll say the only difference with like that and with what's happening in the show is that the show has provided a real world example because for some reason cops decided, misunderstood the entirety of Punisher and adopted that as their way of, or their MO. And so now Marvel has a chance to be like, you guys shouldn't be doing this. You are fucking up huge if you behave like this as a police officer, because you're supposed to be a keeper.
I kind of wonder if they're going to use this series to change the Punisher symbol.
Probably
because I've heard the politically correctness of it. They may want to step away from the skull on the
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to say because the tattoos are happening stuff that the Punisher decides he doesn't want to be associated with that.
That's it, and that's a huge thing too lately or whatever I've been seeing is about changing like the symbol and all that kind of stuff since people like the rocket or whatever, and I'm like I don't know, I think it's a classic symbol, but that's just also
it's not a politically correct symbol to begin with. Like it was never, and the character is not about political correctness.
That's also fair.
It wouldn't make sense.
But the studio is
right.
Yeah, Marvel might be wanting to be like, we want to keep using this character, but we do not want this property associated with what any real world people actually do. So,
are they going to change Sid from Toy Story symbol as well?
It's a different thing.
That's if he makes an appearance in the next film. Who knows?
You got to keep those toy torturers in line. What can I say?
Right, because there's a bunch of hate groups and stuff in our real world that the past handful of years have adopted that symbol as their symbol.
Yeah.
So I know that's why there's been lots of discussion of like keeping it similar but changing it to something that's not that exact one.
Oh, I was like,
so I'll be interested to see.
If they keep the essence of the logo and the character, I don't care. But if it's like just
I feel like they have to.
Yeah.
They'd have to keep it like it's. I think it'll still be a skull in some way or something. Like I feel like it has to keep a lot of what's already there.
Yeah, all the bat symbol changes a lot, but it's still a bat.
Or
you know?
like the Bat or the Superman S that we see
Mhm.
different with every fucking Superman.
It's very
But
different.
it's still Superman. I feel like it's got to be something like that where it's subtle, but a different enough that it's not, the hate party down the street kind of thing, and it's the comic book
Right.
character. But yeah, I guess overall, what would you guys rate the opening of this season?
One last thing from me is, so we saw some of Murdoch's blood drop at the beginning. Do you think this helps implicate him in the crime later on to where he has to divulge who he is? Because I know that's a big storyline.
I don't think so.
I don't
think
think so
it's-
because we had the cop.
If
We had
that
the
was
cop
going to
at the
be
beginning,
brought up,
the retiring cop at the beginning who has been
we
helping
saw
him.
him. But I think if they were going to bring that up from the first fight there, it would have been brought up within the year that they've been doing the case against Bullseye and everything.
No, I meant like the police fight at the end where he's in the actual apartment.
Oh, in the apartment. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because realistically, he just murked the shit out of those guys.
well,
Yeah,
and
his blood's there.
realistically
like, they
too,
made a pretty big prominent shot on his blood.
On his
I
blood
don't
dripping
think-
out of it. Yeah.
Because
gonna say
what are they going to say?
realistically,
Yeah,
too-
the blind guy kicked their ass.
well, and also realistically too, they were trying to kill him. He could argue self-defense.
Yeah.
They definitely had their body cams off.
Well, they were in civilian clothes, but yeah.
That's the joke, Nolan.
Oh.
Yeah,
Might have
you
missed
don't
that one,
wear
Grace. I'm
wear
not
body
pretty tall,
cam. You don't
right?
wear body cams with civvies.
But either way, yeah, it's one of those ones that I'm excited to see what that plot is, like what that little side quest is with the cops or what's going on over there. That led to the whole second episode, essentially, right? Of the dude, getting tossed in. Well, he didn't get tossed. He swung and missed. That's his own fault, really. Yeah, and then
Open chief.
well, yeah, Grayson, but also, I don't know if I have to tell people this, but maybe don't, jump in front of moving subways. That's it's a terrible look.
Is
You
that
might-
counterintuitive to life? I mean,
Yeah, you
Dude,
might not
that's
feel
what I do
great
every
tomorrow.
Sunday instead of go to church.
I like that. Yeah. But yeah, it was just one of those things that I was like, they didn't identify themselves. You know what I mean? He is really realistically in the right here.
To be fair, we've also all of his scenes that he's been at, he's probably left blood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was just thinking.
And if
well,
all
the,
you have is a blood sample, it's very hard to tie that to a person unless they're already in the database and all this other stuff. Like it's not as quick as something like CSI would like us to think. It's still a very long process, I think.
Right.
Well,
Unless
yeah, I was thinking of
One
the hallway scene. They probably had his blood in the hallway scene in
Shit was
season
everywhere.
1.
I mean, his blood, even when he dropped his mask off the roof at the first fight, his blood was on the mask.
I was like, there's blood on his mask. Also, I don't know if you noticed, he looked like a freaking pincushion. Like he had 17 knives in him, dude. Like you don't think you're going to spill a little bit of blood somewhere, even in your like nice fancy upgraded suit? Like,
though something interesting, I will say, I know that part of Fisk's like speeches that he was giving, one of the things that he mentioned that needs to happen is vigilante registration.
yes.
I wonder if this is going to lead us into the storyline eventually of what the original Civil War comics were about
Yes.
people with secret identities having to turn in who they are, get a license basically, and give up their identities, because that caused a whole host of issues in the comics.
The old Superhero Registration Act. Yep.
Right. Instead of the Sokovia Accords and all that. Like it was that instead, but we didn't have anybody really with a secret identity, so it didn't make sense for the movies.
Yeah,
But
because
now-
they hadn't had Peter Parker in the MCU to actually have that.
And literally
reveal.
all of that led to, I mean, Kingpin kills Aunt May because of all that. Because Peter Parker unmasks, everybody finds out. But I think it'd be very interesting to see if that goes anywhere, if they make it a bigger storyline or not.
Dude, to your point, I think
so.
depending on how this goes with like the entire, well, we don't know how the season's going to end yet, But I think with that, if they really know how to play their cards and they are willing to build up to that, I think depending on like how the season plays out and how Fisk tries to fight against Daredevil using the law, that might be what ends up being like another build up for some of the smaller series leading up to some effects in the actual movies going forward.
Which I'd be totally fine with. I'd like that a lot, especially now that Spider-Man is back to being a secret identity character that nobody knows.
Right.
Like he's already
Quite
seen
literally.
the trouble that comes from what happens from being unmasked. So now it would be an even bigger deal for him if he came forward to say, I'm Spider-Man.
Right.
So
And then
we'll
everybody regains knowledge about it.
Also, why couldn't Doctor Strange just make them forget about Mysterio?
I said the same thing. Why not have him forget about Mysterio or forget about the video ever leaking?
Because
Like,
it wasn't written that
It wouldn't.
way.
It
Keegan.
wouldn't like the only problem that
Because movie needs to
causes
movie?
is the movie. Yeah, the movie would not exist.
This movie needs to movie, bro.
Such a
Like,
lack of whimsy and joy. Jeez.
the best I could guess, they could say it could have been because, he had to have Peter there. It might have been you have to have like the person's essence there
yeah.
to be
I'm-
able to do the
I'm
spell.
sure
or
magic
something
magic
like
has
that.
rules, you know.
Yeah.
Like anything
Because
else.
otherwise that would have been simple. Or why not just make hey, everybody's cool with it.
Yeah. Stop making me alter my spell, Peter.
You're very cool with what happened with Spider-Man.
Well, no. But I mean, like that movie had plot holes in it, anyways, for the simple fact that like, what's his face? Electro never knew that Peter was Spider-Man.
Yeah, so he shouldn't have been brought in.
He shouldn't have been brought in. The same thing with
Venom.
Venom. Like, I don't know why he was like even mentioned
So-
or brought in there.
Venom is we're
Well, I guess
supposed to
Topher
believe that
Grace. They
well,
have
we're
the-
supposed to believe that the symbiote itself had a
Yeah.
hive mind with all the other Venoms. So if one Venom knew that he was Spider-Man, they all know.
Technically, everyone.
Yes.
Interesting. I mean, I could see that.
So it's
Um,
stupid. I don't agree with it.
Right.
But that was
It's
what
explained at least, yeah.
that's why Venom says when he first sees him, oh, I hate that guy.
Yeah.
Because
Because
he
Topher Grace.
had
He's like, yo.
Same thing.
not
with,
only that, but all the experiences in the comics.
Sandman. Same thing with Sandman. He didn't know.
I think Sandman knew by the end. I think
Sandman
Yeah, he
knew.
had the mask
Yeah,
off and
Sandman.
everything. Dude.
yeah.
Yeah, Sandman
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah,
Yeah, at
Sandman.
the end of Spider-Man 3, he takes his
Because
mask
remember,
off.
Sandman doesn't even get defeated. Sandman just says,
No,
I just want to take care of my
just-
kid.
I just
and
wanna
just
take
Yeah.
disappear.
Goes away.
Sandman was like, you know what? I didn't actually want to fight to begin with. I'm gonna go ahead and
Isn't
take off.
Sandman the only one that survives out of the Raimi trilogy as far as villains?
Yes.
Dr. Connors still never became Lizard.
Yeah, but he also never
But-
became the villain. So yes,
Because
Right.
he was supposed to be in the fourth movie.
And technically their Mysterio never happened either.
Correct.
Yeah, he
'cause
saw that Bruce Campbell somewhere.
Dude, Bruce Campbell's Mysterio would have been so good.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
that'd have been
but-
awesome.
Yeah, I think it's hard to
Sandman
say
was
what's
the
going to
one.
happen moving forward because everything's going to get shaken up once we have Secret Wars.
Could you
Yes.
imagine in Secret Wars if Mysterio's there and it's Bruce Campbell?
It might be. I mean,
That would be
if they pulled out Channing Tatum as Gambit? for Deadpool,
Dude,
why
okay.
not?
well, and they
if-
were talking to Nick Cage for Ghost Rider. So I
Because
mean,
Yeah.
if you're
obviously
doing that, anything's
Let's
on the
see
table.
Malkovich. Let's see Malkovich in there as a
Vulture.
Vulture. Yeah, let's do it. Why not?
all right. So what would we rate these 2 episodes, guys?
That's crazy.
I'm gonna say, I think they're off to a great start. I like the foundation that's been put, but it has just been foundation. I don't see a huge storyline yet. I think it's gonna happen. You can't expect too much from 2 episodes, beginning. But I'm gonna say solid 8, almost a 9.
Same. The only thing I had a major gripe with for this one was the fact that Foggy.
I loved Foggy. He was such a good second.
I liked that actor. I like the way he pulled off Foggy too. But I hate the fact that he was like, "Oh, I love the character. I'm so excited to be back." It's like,
I'm
guys,
very
come on.
upset that they shot Fulton Reed. I agree.
I mean, I got my fingers crossed somehow he comes back, but I have a feeling it might just be flashbacks in the next season.
That
maybe
sucked.
I can see that. I will say I do think it was funny. like I had already watched the episode, but that was the first spoiler I saw leak online.
Oof.
I had already watched the first 2 episodes, and then
Oh, okay.
somebody like I said, I watched the first 2 episodes, and then I went on Facebook, and somebody was talking about. I saw the interview with the guy who played Foggy. He's like, I'm so excited. And then I looked at the comments, and somebody was immediately like, the first comment was like, "Too bad you die in the first 5 minutes." And it was like, and I was like, oh. And somebody was like, spoilers. And the other people were like, oh.
But I do get that it would take something that massive to get him to stop being Daredevil.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It drives the character.
Like it
forward,
was at least
sure.
like it was a death, but at least it wasn't a meaningless one that we've seen in a lot of stuff. That it's
Sure.
just like, okay, you didn't have to do that.
Yeah,
Like
like
at least there is. It looks like story driven, you know.
like the first Daredevil movie where Elektra dies and he's all heartbroken. It's like, dude, you knew her for 10 minutes.
True.
And then she's back.
Mm-hmm.
True.
What do you think, Keegan?
Oh yeah, I'd say solid 8 for both. I do think the second one was maybe a smidge better, so maybe like an 8-1, 8-2 for that one. But definitely off to a really good start. Again, we'll see where it goes. We've seen it before, but I have faith that this one will continue in the trajectory. Just the filming method's much better in this one. The score's been really good. They even snuck in some of the Netflix here and there a little bit.
I like that it was kind of like some of the notes of it. That was cool.
Yeah, at certain like peaks and stuff. So yeah, no, I'm excited. You know, a lot of the actors in it are already killing their parts, so obviously it shows why they were brought back. And I just think handled with care. You know, I brought up with the election thing with Captain America didn't work as well. It worked much better here. It just shows good writing with good actors who like the characters and care for them makes a difference. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
For sure.
Huge difference.
What do you think, Grayson?
Yeah, fairly similar. First episode, gonna give it like an 8.4. Second episode, 8.7. Fantastic start to the series. I'm excited to see where it's going. I think honestly, in my opinion, they did have like that new studio quirks that they kind of have to work out. So I think that plus with the rewrites, you could kind of feel them trying to ease the character into the MCU a little bit, or a little bit through this.
A little bit of the stitches in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to make everything fit, which I get. It doesn't bother me in any way. It was still fantastic. I loved seeing these characters again. I loved how everything kind of just started off with a bang. I'm excited to see where it goes. I think this will be probably some of the best comic book television we've had in a bit. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was laughing because I thought you were just gonna leave it at yeah.
Yeah. So,
What do you think, Grayson?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And then like 2 minutes of dead awkward silence.
So
all right, Nolan, bring us home.
All right. So for me, I'm definitely giving first one. We'll go with an 8. Second one, 8.5. Just because it kind of started to really put things in motion.
How do you spell that? You said
how do you
8.5.
In
How do you spell half?
8 in half.
8.5.
It's HEIF. Half. Yeah.
Half.
Two in half. Thing. Yeah. The so 8.5 for number 2. It's solid all the way through. Like I said, you get a little bit of that janky CGI, but once you get past that bit, like it's pretty solid. It's pretty solid gold. And I'm gonna be really upset if they goosebumps this and everyone turns out to be an alien in the end.
Oh, you didn't see tonight's episode, did you?
No,
I
did
want
not.
Deborah Ann Wool back. I want Deborah Ann Wool.
You better not.
She's the Q monster.
Hot and funny. Awesome.
The plot is that Kingpin is Goop, and he is a Goop alien who is trying to
goop the city.
Goop the city is what he's doing.
He actually slowly turns into David Schwimmer.
Poop the Goop the
Spider-Man
pants.
Web of Shadows meets Daredevil.
Yeah. But no, so far it's been fantastic. I'm really it's given nostalgic. Yeah, at this point I call it nostalgic, but just because it's we haven't had such a good a good series like this in a long time since almost the Daredevil ones, if I'm being honest. So like for them to bring it back to form and to kind of go back to the old stuff, it's got that like Netflix, first couple seasons nostalgia for sure. And I really hope they keep that running through the rest of the season. Yeah, looking forward to episode 3 and more ass kickery, because this one's brutal and it fits, and it just makes things that much more like hit that much harder, like, so to speak.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah.
So before we sign off, I just have one question left for everybody. Outside of the Netflix series and this, what has been everyone's favorite Marvel show project?
Probably Loki.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably Loki.
It's had the best storytelling and the best the best arc for the character, the most
Best set design
influential.
because it was like all practical and everything. Yeah.
Had the best characters.
I
I
forgot
think.
about Loki for a second.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Uh,
Behind that, probably WandaVision.
Berg, what's yours?
I'm gonna go Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I really liked it a lot.
That's surprising. A lot of people don't like that. Good for you.
Grayson?
What's the question?
What's your favorite Disney Plus show from Marvel so far?
Outside of Netflix,
Outside of this one.
outside of the Netflix series,
Netflix isn't Disney Plus.
I will say, like, my favorite probably is going to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I enjoyed it.
Again,
I didn't have an
very
issue
nice.
with the political issuing, but probably close behind it. Like, I didn't love the show in its entirety, but I feel like it was enjoyable in some areas. Is She-Hulk?
I was gonna
She-Hulk,
say
I think, was very well done for what it was.
I
it was
agree.
very well done. I don't like what the actress
could have
has
been
done
worse.
outside of it.
I mean, I think if you're going off of what was the best, like from comic to medium, they did great.
100%. Yeah.
It's very much like the comics. They did even the breaking the fourth wall, very well done. Like, it was fine.
Yeah,
I would say
didn't
my second favorite has to be the Hawkeye series.
Hawkeye was very good. I agree. That's probably tied with WandaVision for me. But WandaVision was great. And honestly, Agatha All the Way was fantastic.
Agatha All Along.
Agatha All Along was
I love that WandaVision, the villain wasn't like a person it was depression.
No, it was though. It was Agatha.
It was Agatha. Yeah,
Agatha
I was like,
is the depression.
It was Agatha, yes, but Agatha wasn't the overall villain throughout the entire series. Like she also had to battle like her turmoil.
I mean, she turned Wanda's emotions against her, basically.
Yeah.
Yes, but Wanda was already in a broken state.
But not to the level of what happened.
But the villain capitalized on it, so therefore she is the villain.
She made a full city.
But she didn't do that
Wanda
until after. Yeah, Agatha was still there to egg all of that along. Like, that's what happened. She was manipulating her.
Yeah, she
hence
was
why it was
villain.
considered Agatha all along.
Right. It was Agatha's
fault. But she
fault
did deal with
all
depression,
along.
to your point. But yeah, it was Agatha all along.
It was the Great Witch Ozempic.
She used the depression of what's her name to make the series happen, but she was still a villain.
Yeah, but the Agatha All Along series, beautiful. It was so well done. I had low expectations for that, and it ended up being one of my favorites.
Nice.
I've heard it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Mine, I think, if I'm gonna go with Hawkeye, just because the dichotomy and the like buddy copness of Yelena and Haley's character
was so good. I'd watch a whole series of just them.
That's what I mean. Like, I was like, it, especially because the two actresses are fantastic. First of all, like, Haley's fantastic, and then Florence Pugh is awesome. She's amazing too, right? But you're exactly right. Like,
both gorgeous.
Right. And for me, it was one of those things, like, I got a huge maybe. No, the feeling of like Sam and Bucky. Like,
but I think 10 times better.
But better, right? Like, it was just like a little bit better. And it was one of those things that I was like, I really like these two characters together just because they did really mesh well. And that's why it's probably my
good chemistry off of each other, the banter and everything.
It felt played off each other well. The chemistry was great. The banter was great.
It didn't feel forced. It felt like this is amazing. Like
yes, and that's exactly why. You're exactly right. It's like it didn't feel forced. Like, this feels like they are definitely pretty good frenemies. Like,
yes, it was perfect.
Yeah, there's like a slight respect for each other, but at the same time, they're still, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to kick you that hard.
I mean,
don't hurt me.
I liked Hawkeye so much. I flew to California to watch Rogers the Musical when they actually put it on at Disneyland.
Jeez.
Dang.
Yeah, they did an
Nice.
actual like one act play of it where they made the musical from
the-
the show. And you can see that over at Abnormal Voyages, my YouTube channel, where we cover seeing that musical at Disneyland,
Sir
California
on
Adventure.
TikTok signing off. Bye.
Shameless plug.
Abnormal wages. Absolutely.
But speaking of which, all of our main characters here can be found in other wonderful places around the internet. So definitely check that out down below. We'll have links to everyone. And we're going to be doing the entire season of Daredevil here on the Society of Main Characters. So definitely tune in next week. Guys, I think it's safe to say we're all excited for the next episode, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
I really wish they would
I'm
have
gonna
just.
go watch it now if I can.
Oh,
I-
okay. We don't want to keep you.
I really
So,
wish they did, like Goosebumps and just dropped all of the whole shenanigans all at once.
right. Let's hope for some consistency throughout this time.
Because
But
I definitely would have binged it like you guys did, Goosebumps, and then watch like the episodes again, like probably the day
See,
before.
just the
because.
fact that they didn't release all the episodes at once and they make you come back each week shows you that they
Means that
think
it's
it's a
probably
better
pretty
show.
good. Yeah, yeah. You know what? Dang, I didn't think about that. That's probably why they dropped all of Goosebumps. They're like,
It is.
"Here,
That's what they do.
have this pile of garbage
Like we know you're going to be in, and then you just watch it all before you think too hard about it.
before you think too hard about it." Yeah, that makes sense. This gives me a
All
week to
right.
ponder.
So
like it.
that
It's
is
like a-
us signing
Yeah.
off, and we'll see you next week.